Darren here, and on today's episode of WotC Academy, we are going to be learning how to set up the game to play one-handed. Now, before you click away or jump into the comment sections or laugh, I am being absolutely serious about this. I have interacted very recently with a player that mentioned that they thought they would not be able to play the game for a few months because they broke their wrist or hand or arm. I forget which body part it was. And like I said, they thought that they were going to be unable to play the game for a little bit. I remembered, of course, that I made a myth-busting video that to disprove or to prove that you could play artillery one-handed, but it wasn't really much of a proper setup guide. So that is what this video is going to be, a proper setup guide for you to play the game one-handed. Now, jumping into it, I want to mention that it is possible to play the game one-handed in any class or tank, but it will be very difficult for 4 out of the 5 classes unless you have very dexterous fingers or you have become comfortable playing one-handed, or you just have found the perfect setup for your situation. I have found, though, that the easiest class for most people, especially if this is just like a temporary thing and you don't see yourself playing one-handed for a super long stint, that artillery is going to be your best bet for the least frustrating and headache-inducing gameplay experience while one-handed. So the whole setup guide is going to mainly be focused around setting up to play artillery one-handed. So, like I said, if you haven't touched artillery before and you find yourself in this situation, it may be time to try and grind out those lines finally. So, jumping right into the setup, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to hit the start button and go to your settings. And then right there on the first tab, we're going to want to scroll down and toggle the artillery zoom. Now, if you have never played artillery before, or you don't play it very often, toggle artillery zoom when it is off by default. What that means is that you have to aim like any other tank. So you have to hold down the aim button, whatever setup that may be, with one hand or one finger, and you would have to fire with the trigger button. And the moment that you let go of the aim button, it brings you back out into third-person view. Now, toggle artillery zoom, when you turn it on, again, just makes it a toggle. So all you have to do is, in the case of artillery, is you find your position that you are happy with and you set up shop. All you have to do is hit the aim button one time, and you will find yourself constantly in the top-down view until you hit the aim button again, and then it will bring you into third person. You do not have to worry about a weird, questionable hand placement position or trying to find a way to hold down the aim button as long as you have toggle artillery zoom turned on. Now, the next thing you want to kind of experiment with, and again, every situation in real life is going to be different for each and every person, you are going to want to try and figure out what controller configuration suits you and your situation the best. So it may take some practice here. And I will jump into an example using the default setup and a hypothetical situation that maybe I find myself in, and you guys can kind of get an idea of what I mean. So yeah, make sure that you do kind of experiment and find a controller setup that works for you. The third and final setup thing that we're going to want to look at, just that may help you, is we're going to want to move to the hull lock artillery. And just as, again, a heads up here, is that you can enable and disable this in game, but since we're in settings, I just kind of want to talk about it anyway. We can see here that in the orange text at the bottom bottom of the screen, that hull lock artillery, you can toggle it on to prevent the hull from rotating when you are aiming beyond your right or left gun movement limit. And if you turn it off, of course, the tank will automatically rotate to allow you to continue to aim. So you can toggle this in-game to suit, I guess, the tank or situation that you find yourself in. Now, as I said here, hypothetical situation to kind of give you guys an idea of what you may, like, of a hypothetical situation of, let's say I broke my left hand, and I need to play left-handed. Well, again, going to the default controller scheme here, I have it up for your reference. Let's say that I'm going to play artillery. I've started the battle. I'm using my right hand only. I'm going to place the controller on my lap, and I'm just going to use the left joystick to just move around. I'm going to, kind of treat it like I'm using a joystick from the early 80s or so with my right hand. Just going to drive to wherever I need to go. And then once I set up shop, I'm just going to reach over with whatever finger hits the trigger button first, and I'm just going to click it and toggle the artillery zoom. And then at that point, all I have to do is just hold the controller in my right hand like I normally would. And, of course, my camera rotation, my consumables, my fire button, they're all right there in my access with my right hand. I don't need to have any complex grip on it. And then, of course, I can play the game. But let's say, however, I fired a shot, I find I need to reposition. I'm going to, again, revert to my driving hand setup here, where I just go and reach down, toggle the aim button again with the controller on my lap, get out of the aim, and then I'm just going to treat the controller like an Atari joystick and use the left joystick to drive and steer myself out of danger to a new spot. It would take some getting used to, but it absolutely is doable. The only time that you're going to be like, oh goodness, I'm going to struggle, or I'm dead, there's no way I can fight back, or anything like this, is in a situation where you're going to get rushed by a light tank, or you're just getting rushed by a bunch of tanks. In that situation, there's really nothing you can do about that in most cases, because you kind of now forfeited the ability to shotgun. However, of course, if you disable the hull lock artillery and you are not in a turreted artillery piece, you could just post up and just steer with the right joystick and try and manually shotgun that light tank that's trying to come up on you. You just won't be able to move around because you'd have to switch to the firing hand configuration or holding configuration, however you'd want to name it. But that's just a brief verbal explanation of how I would kind of play the game one-handed in that type of situation. Like I said, you could hypothetically play the other classes one-handed as well in a kind of similar situation or similar hand holding configurations, but it would be very difficult, and you would need to figure out a setup that would work for you. Like I said, this is just a proper guide for players that may find themselves in this type of situation. Hopefully this kind of guide helps them and they can get back into playing despite their temporary or, God forbid, now permanent setback. But yeah, I'd like to thank you all for watching. If you found this video helpful, hit that thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this one, don't forget to subscribe. But until next time, this has been Darren of WotC Academy.